pretty good conditions, Dally.
Perfect.
Normally it's pretty blustery out in Casey, but not a lot of wind out there today.
No breeze. So North Melbourne going to the right of screen as Max Gawn lines up. And going up against, looks like it will be Coleman Jones for his first opportunity in the new colours. Going to the left of screen.
And also Hugh Green with the number 18 there, the former son. Straight in next to Clayton Oliver.
Two tackling machines.
Very much so. So underway this practice match between the D's and the Kangaroos. Gawn decisively won the tap down. Pickett starting at the centre bounce as well. Immediately wrapped up by Phillips. And Thomas using that lovely sidestep to push the Kangaroos forward. Salem met it first but couldn't gather cleanly. Neil Bullen goes back to go forward, sweeps the handball back, but only as far as Turner. Now to Coleman Jones. Greenwood nicely trapped, and Core, he's back in the lineup, and he sends a long ball deep inside 50 towards the goals, and it's just off to the left. But Aidan Core gets the scoring underway, a player who only played the 2 games last year, but nice to see him back out in the footy field.
It is great to see him, and a good start by the Kangaroos, getting the ball in their forward half. Todd Goldstein starting out of the goal square with the support of Coleman Jones in the ruck. So let's see how that combination works.
All-Australian from last year, Stephen May, with a thumping kick. And Ben Mackay, almost uncontested in the end, able to take a pretty easy intercept mark. Really developed as a key defender in recent times. Sends it inside the arc. Gawn is there again, so playing kick to kick there, the ruckman. Switches it out towards a 2-on-1 here. Nice spoil on that occasion from Young. And gets the hand pass to Marnie, who's very clever around goal. And that is no exception. Jack Marnie with a lovely snap. Our first goal of the game goes to the 20-year-old who's really starting to cement his spot in this North Melbourne senior lineup.
Oh, what a lovely finish. So Max Gawn rolling behind the football as it was turned over on centre wing. And already you can see the D's trying to get to the edge. So they want to have players on the outside. I'm watching Brayshaw on the wing and their half forwards coming up to get that switch kick on the outside. But that was really, really well read by the Kangas as they go back inside forward 50, and a lovely finish from a young man. And you look at areas that the Kangas can improve, it's this youth, Benny. You've got to find some moments for these young guys. That's a fantastic start by Marnie.
So Marnie gets the first goal of the game. Horn Francis has started almost in forward pocket. He's working with Goldstein and Nick Larkey deep inside forward 50, but no doubt we'll see Horn Francis have a run on the ball at some stage today. Back in the middle, Coleman Jones and Gawn. And Petrarca tries to burst his way through, but again, Thomas is there to trap it. Nicely played. Greenwood again involved early. Kick, though, chopped off by Neil Bullen. And the D's can go forward for the first time today. Neil Bullen able to get around his opponent and give them their first inside 50 entry. Ben Brown presents. Crashed the pack, couldn't take it cleanly. These are numbers around the ball, including Pickett. Mackay wrapped up by Brown. Really hot and tough stuff early as the Roos cleared danger, but only momentarily. It's gone out of bounds in the full.
Well, someone needs to tell Jack Siebel that it's just a practice match and we're warming into it. But that's what you love about that guy. He's unconditional, goes back with the flight of the football, intercepts what would have been a Ben Brown mark.
Rivers will give the D's another entry. Brown caught behind this time. Walker almost could have marked it himself. It's gone to Sparrow. The Langdon who's wearing the long sleeves on a February outing towards the hot spot here. Brown brought it to ground. Chandler, who really impressed this time last year in a trial match against the Tigers. But he's caught holding the ball on this occasion. The Roos can repel from deep in defence. And the captain involved once again, Jack Siebel.
Deeps have done well to roll up in line with the football, giving no overlap for the Kangas. Therefore, Siebel's going to have to go long to the far side.
And it's gone out of bounds on the full again. So a couple of unforced errors on that outer side. The D's bringing in through Langdon, who's been terrific since joining Melbourne.
He received that kick from Adam Tomlinson as well, so it's great to see him back, Benny.
Yeah, it is. Did an ACL round 7 last year against the Kangaroos. So his first competitive match back against a rival side. As Spargo sends it inside 50. Brown presents, got hands to the ball. Gawn doing the crumbing. Able to feed out the hairball. No clean pick up from either side. Josh Walker happy to wrap it up.
So I'm not great with maths, Ben, but that means he's had a relatively quick return to football, Tomlinson.
Yeah.
He did it in round 7 last year.
April, I want to say, late April.
Yep. That's a good turnaround. He's obviously been extremely diligent with his recovery.
Oh, he's a very fit player as well. We know certainly at the Giants how well he covered the ground playing as a wingman. Now he's gone to the D's and really making an impact as a key defender. That's another kick that's gone out of bounds and the fall from the Roos on that outer side. Just struggling to get it out of their defensive half.
They are trying to be a little bit cute, but the D's do have extra numbers behind the football, one of those being the ruckman sitting behind the footy and Max Gawn. So they've got to just get their balance and get their structure in front of the football as well, the Kangas.
Rivers, well, in the end, didn't quite have enough on it to get to McDonald, but Neil Boylan is there waiting to try and snap it. Zeeble, last line of defence, clears towards a one-on-one. Salem legally got rid of his opponent in Taylor, according to the umpire. So Salem can continue this trend of repeat entries for Melbourne. McDonald caught behind, but he's able to raise up and take a strong contested mark, and we'll have Melbourne's first shot on goal.
I love that forward structure there. You had Ben Brown coming to the near side, almost as a dummy lead, trying to draw his opponent out to create a little bit of space. As they come forward, this is what McDonald does really well. You go back to what he did last year, where he found his best form again, his ability to launch at the football. He's such a difficult matchup. He does it in the air, and we know he can do it at ground level, and a good opportunity for him to get the D's first. 33
goals last year, Tom McDonald. Normally a beautiful kick, and that's no exception. So the D's, after numerous inside 50 opportunities, able to get their first goal, and it comes through Tom McDonald, who was taken in the draft, pick 53 back in 2010, and he's continued to be a great servant for this footy club.
Well, it's a great credit to the coaching staff of the D's as we reflect on last year, because it wasn't that long ago, being 2 years ago, Ben, there was a lot of people, including people at the D's, that were concerned about where he was as a player.
Yep.
You know, they tried him across the half-back line. We know he is so versatile and can play multiple positions. He almost became that fill-in man, but didn't have his own position. But what we saw last year, and this is where it's credit to the D's coaching staff, they found him a position. They worked a system around him, including some of the other forwards. It just worked beautifully last year, and that's a great start.
So Horn Francis is in this centre bounce. He's next to Clayton Oliver as well. Jackson taking the ruck against Coleman Jones. Petrarca attacked it hard. He had Powell for company. Oliver slips the Horn Francis tackle, able to get it to Petrarca, to Harms. The D's linking up via hands. Jackson and Jordan. Jordan gets there first and sends it deep. It's Brown and Gawn. Brown able to bring it to ground. Crumbed here by Hayden. And got the high tackle from Clayton Oliver, so the Roos can breathe a sigh of relief here.
D's are doing really well to get on the outside of the Kangas. The slip tackle from Horn Francis to start, that allows the D's to get that overlap handball.
12 games so far in his career, Kyron Hayden. That kick's fallen short of his intended target. Larkey good enough, though, to retreat to Scott, who snaps it around his body. Coleman Jones and Jackson go to work. There's a holding free kick by the non-controlling umpire paid, and it's going to go the way of the Roos. And Stevenson, while he waited for his teammate to run past in Lazaro, didn't quite get there in the end. Very clean there, or almost there from Greenwood. Allows the Roos through Powell and Core to set themselves up. The kick from Core set Marnie a task, but he was up to it. Beautiful handball to Stevenson. Inside 50, Larkey going back with it. Doesn't quite get to him. Zerha here one-on-one with Salem. Larkey copped a high tackle from Hibbard, according to the umpire. And Larkey, who had a terrific 2021 campaign, can have a set shot.
It was good play by the big fella. Maybe a little bit fortunate as he went to pick that football up. Not sure if he kept his head down for a fraction longer to draw that free kick, but it's a long way down for the big fella. But some good passages of play. You talk about waiting for that overlap handball. That's your opportunity, particularly for your Stevenson. Just take the ball and go. That's what you're really good at. Put the D's defence under some pressure. 3 goals in North's intra-club last week, Nick Larkey. Normally a beautiful kick, and he's dead straight on this occasion. So North get their second, and Larkey, after a 42-goal 2021 campaign, gets his first in this practice match. Amazing that he's looming as this real presence, this potent presence inside 50, and he was taken with pick 73 5-6 years ago. And what I love about his kicking style, it's simplistic.
Yes.
For any young man or boy or girl watching this at home, just have a look at Nick Larkey's style. There's no fuss about it. He walks directly towards his target, points that toe, follows through after the kick, and he gets the desired result. That was a very impressive. Those numbers surprised me a little bit, Ben, given how tough it was for the Kangas over the last year or two, but it's a nice start. It gives them a good option up forward.
Gawn and Coleman Jones. Gawn decisively down towards Oliver, but bumped off it there by Powell. To Coleman Jones. He started this game in the ruck. He's kicked forward just over the head of Bowie and Marnie, but Marnie's got pace, as does Salem. Marnie keeps it alive. Salem able to ensure the Roos can't gather some momentum. And a high free kick going the way of Salem, deep in the back pocket. Had a terrific 2021 season, Salem, including a great grand final performance as the premiership captain takes another contested mark.
How about this man's finals campaign last year?
Pretty good.
Not too bad. Set a standard for himself.
Hoping for Ben Brown. The D's again able to bring the ball to ground. Pickett was there, but nicely picked up by Powell to Horn Francis, who kicks inside 50, just over the head of Zerha. And Tomlinson able to meet it and see it over the line. Adam Tomlinson. 160 AFL games. Tomlinson, 140 with the Giants. This will be his third year with the D's, but essentially it's sort of 1 1/3, considering that he missed 2/3 of last season due to that ACL injury. Coleman Jones from the stoppage. There is Tomlinson marking last line of defence.
So let's look at this matchup with Coleman Jones going in the ruck against Max Gawn. Goldstein still playing out of the goal score. Whether this is a tactical, whether this is just a trial to see how that balance works. You know, Todd Goldstein probably isn't at his level even last year that he was 3 or 4 years ago, where he was the All-Australian ruckman, but he's still a fine player. I think sometimes we look over that next group of really good ruckmen because we get drawn to Gawn and Natanui and it may be a Grundy as well, but I don't mind so far Goldie out of the goal square.
Stevenson hoping for Powell. Oliver right in his tail there. Both players lap it up. And holding the ball is called. So North Melbourne can again send an inside 50, but the D's have had ample time to get numbers back. This is Powell. Hoping to try and spear it in towards Zerha. Ball travels over the back. Marnie again. Wonderful pick up and spin in the one motion. Forces it over the line and out of bounds. Because you mentioned Coleman Jones before. He really was... Well, the consensus externally was that he was brought in to give them another forward target with Goldstein ruck. But if he can sort of hold down a ruck position with Goldstein certainly closer to the end of his career than the start, it'd be really handy for David Noble and his side.
Absolutely.
Hibbard clears. McDonald and Josh Walker. Pounced on by Mackay. High right foot kick goes out of bounds on the full.
So there's a couple of plays I'm interested in. The first one is Pollock on the near side. He's going up against Brayshaw. We know the contract that he had going back 3 or 4 years ago. We know that he's been delisted and then re-rookied. Where does he find his best football? Is it still on the wing? Is there another possibility for him to play somewhere else?
Josh Walker threw it away according to the umpire, and the D's will take the advantage. Tom McDonald. Kick forward, not clean off the boot. And Kane Turner able to mop up. And a clever little kick to Walker in the end. That was Josh Walker to Patrick Walker. But Hayden is put under the hammer by Alex Neil-Bullen, who forces a stoppage. One holding the ball on that outer side, but none forthcoming. And Neil-Bullen was one of the great stories of Melbourne's premiership success last year. Terrific, consistent season. Free kick going the way here of North.
He really went from a role player to being a role player with an impact, didn't he, Neil Bullen, last year? Like a lot of them did, and clearly when you're winning games of football, you play your role and you accept it, but he executed it beautifully.
May went up high, and Hibbard copped the Falcon behind. Before that, though, there was perhaps a free kick, and we'll be going against Larkey in the way of May.
All the play on the far side. We've got Pollock and Brayshaw. Oh, it's gone the other way.
Take that back.
But it's been reversed.
So Larkey will now give the Roos another forward entry. Zerha with Smith one-on-one, the two number 44s, and Joel Smith thumps it through for a minor.
The other one to keep an eye on, Ben, as we try and work out what North Melbourne are, is the first time in about 10 years Robbie Tarrant hasn't been in defence. So he's been a pillar. He's done a lot of that work by himself. He's been a leader of that football club for a very, very long time, sets a high standard. So for the first time in a game situation, the Kangas try and work their way through not having a Robbie Tarrant player there.
A lot of responsibility on Ben Mackay. And there's Josh Walker as well. And we noticed this yesterday. I did the Essendon Bulldogs game with Brendan Goddard, and he was talking about a lot of other clubs playing copycat with the D's and how they used, Jake Lever or Stephen May as that almost a wicket keeper playing deep in defence all the time. And it looks like Ben Mackay was doing that on that occasion. Do you expect that to be a trend, that we will see that last line of defence being used by a lot more teams this year?
I think the thing you need to be careful of, if you try and model yourself on Melbourne, You need to make sure you've got a Stephen May type that can can roll off at the right time, but is as good as anybody one-on-one. If you want to have a Jake Lever type who is so smart, Jake Lever is brilliant at recognising that his opponent's gone into an irrelevant position, and therefore he rolls off. But if you don't have those style of players, whether it be by physical attributes, but also the knowledge of the game, you can actually catch yourself out trying to be something that you're not. But what I like about the Kangas behind the football is they're still one-on-one. They've just got goal side depth.
Nice hands there from the D's. Jackson to Jordan to Pickett, and he's got ample speed. And through the middle of Casey go the D's, and Jordan has Ben Brown working hard. And you'd almost back him from here, Brown, but he sees teammates working hard further field. And James Harms has found some space and can line up for the goal.
Well, that's just beautiful ball movement. That is really, really difficult to stop. The only way you can stop that, Ben, has got to be at the source. Coming from the forward 50 of the Kangas, you can't allow the D's to get goal side and run straight through the middle of the ground. I want to see more of Cozzy Pickett getting that ball, tucking it under the arm and taking the opposition on. It is electrifying.
He was excellent last year. Cozzy Pickett is playing as that forward. As Harms keeps it low, doesn't keep it straight. That's Melbourne's first blemish on the scoreboard. Pickett was electric around the goals last year. We've seen him play a little bit further up the field so far. If he can use that speed, it's going to be must-watch footy, the D's, this year.
I still think he's a forward. A lot of players coming into the competition will start forward and always want to get into the midfield. I think Cozzy Pickett is a pinch hit in the midfield, but he's just a genuine forward that just causes headaches.
Mark taken by Larkey. That kick came from Young, though, and Larkey trying to link up here with Bergman. It's Miller Bergman, the draftee from last year, but Salem again, right place, right time. Bowie. 7 games and he's got his flag next to his name.
How nice is that? The only problem is, where do you go from here, Ben? If you played 7 and you get a little dangler from it.
He's an exciting player, though, Jake Bowie. Really worked hard for Casey in the VFL to earn his spot. And was a key part of that premiership lineup.
Doesn't it show the depth of the D's as well? To be able to bring somebody in after that amount of games and have trust in them on grand final day and performed.
Zeeble wins the free kick for North. He's going to switch the ball towards some open space. Taken here by Patrick Walker. And Stevenson's found some grass. And athletically marks and in one motion plays on and kicks, hoping for Marnie, but May talked about how he's able to read the ball, come for his opponent at the right time. That was on display there. Langdon in front of a pretty healthy crowd, it has to be said, in Casey today.
Clearly no one works on a Thursday morning.
No. If you're not, if you've got KO Sports on in the background, nice to have your company. Gone with another contested mark. Very open Melbourne forward 50. And tracking back with it is Jackson. Got hands to the ball. Harms was there as well to try and create some forward half pressure. Scott rushes a kick away. Langdon able to bump Patrick Walker off the ball and put it towards the full forward area. Ben Brown underneath. Harms waiting for the crumb. Thomas and Spargo fight for the ball. Umpire will ball it up in a dangerous spot here for the North Melbourne defence.
So we spoke pre-game, coming up to the 18-minute mark of this first quarter, about North Melbourne competing. That needed to be the cornerstone of their game today. They needed to be able to go head-to-head, shoulder-to-shoulder, particularly around these stoppages. They've held their own so far.
Sparrow to Chandler, who wanted to get on his left foot there. Zeeble waiting to mop up the mess. On the left, that's a good kick as well. Patrick Walker involved again. Powell sends it towards absolutely no one. And that is May mopping up. Just a reminder, no Jake Lever today. Just a minor ankle roll last week. Just taking this game off. Bowie caught one high. But umpire didn't see it. So it'll be tossed back in right in front of that scoreboard, which reads North Melbourne leading by 7 points.
That's a perfect example of that forward structure. So the forwards of North Melbourne are all retreating back, trying to do the right thing to try and help their defence. But as a result, the consequence is you don't have any representation for the football. The D's are just sitting there waiting.
Young turned it over via hand, and the D's can pounce. Bowie, beautiful handball from Sparrow to Petrarca. The superstar goes long inside 50. Ben Brown got a kind bounce on the half volley. Back to Spargo with the outside of the boot, hoping for Harms. Couldn't find it in the end. Jackson tries to keep the ball alive inside 50. Zeeble makes it somebody else's issue. And a good contest there from the Roos to bring the ball to ground and set Stevenson away. He's got a speedster behind him, though, in Langdon. So Stevenson was brought down in the end. That affected the kick. And that defensive effort from Langdon brings a round of applause from the fans as Smith sees it out of bounds.
It's a great chase from Langdon. Anybody else, Stevenson was off and not going to be caught, but he realised he could feel the pressure coming from behind. Just those little things allow the defenders behind the football just to get set, to take proactive position and to force the Kangas a little bit wider.
It's a 25-minute flat quarters reminder, so just over 5 minutes remaining. Gorn torps it out of the stoppage, but Ben Mackay waiting to intercept Mark there. Short to Powell, who's found a bit of the ball. Very impressive first season from the South Australian junior last year.
Got big high hopes on Powell. He's done some really nice things in his short career so far.
Josh Walker brought it to ground along with Mackay. Hemel from Turner to Phillips to Scott. You want to switch it towards the outer wing here. Patrick Walker under pressure from Brayshaw, but did well to get the hand pass away. Bergman can't quite slip the tackle. Marnie back to Patrick Walker, and they can assess from here. It's a very congested forward line. Larkey tried to grab it. Coleman Jones also got hands to it. Coleman Jones follows it up to Marnie. Handball just overshot his target there in Taylor, and the D's can rebound through Oliver. Best and fairest in a premiership year last year. Clayton Oliver, All-Australian as well. Nice kick as well to find Spargo on that occasion.
And that's an area of his game, Benny. Hit the nail on the head. His kicking had improved out of sight last year. There were some suggestions that he needed to handball the ball more because his kicking wasn't up to standard. Well, not only did he bring teammates into the game with his handball, but his kicking improved.
Yes. Oh, big hit there from Salem on Goldstein. High free kick will be going the way of North Melbourne.
I'll be coming back to
Larkey.
Larkey it is.
Yeah. Siebel calls for calm.
So they're getting enough inside 50s, the Kangas, but as you can see in front of the football, the D's are getting numbers behind the footy. They've got 3 extra defenders at the moment.
Polek will want his left. He goes towards a 2-on-2. Taron Thomas was there. Got hands to the footy. Rivers to Gawn to May. Hoping for McDonald. Doesn't quite get there. Intercepted by Polek. Who can have another crack? But there's a lot of red and blue jumpers in that defensive 50.
They've got 17 in defensive 50.
So good luck marking this, particularly if Max Gawn's in the vicinity. Marnie almost pinched it. Horn Francis, little hand pass out there. Taylor brought down. Zerha on hands and knees. Feeds it out to Phillips. Back to Scott. He gains some territory. Goldstein in front. May able to bump him out of the ball. Great tackle from Thomas. Stevenson on the left. Around the body. Just off to the right. The Roos continue to pepper. That's 5 scoring shots to 2 in this first quarter.
I'm not sure if Simon Goodwin will be thrilled by the style of football that the D's are playing. They've got extra numbers behind the football. They're not coming forward and trying to play the game in their forward half. They're happy to retreat and be defending. 22 and a half gone in this first quarter.
Yeah. May hoping for Salem. Gosh, he set him a task. And Taron Thomas, unfortunately from a North Melbourne perspective, interfered with illegally on Salem there. Thomas is an exciting prospect for North Melbourne fans, isn't he?
Extremely. He's one of the young group coming through. You try and find where the growth's going to come from the Kangas. Well, he's one of those.
Ability to hit the scoreboard, 24 goals from 21 games last year. As he's brought down by Salem, who gives Thomas some of his own medicine after seconds beforehand, copying on himself.
It's the X factor that Taron Thomas brings.
Yeah.
It's the unknown about which way he's going to turn and how he picks up the football. He's so creative.
Horn Francis, nice little handball out. Taylor brought down by Rivers in the end. Trent Rivers, one of a number of WA draftees onto this Melbourne side, most notably Luke Jackson won the 2021 Rising Star Award last year. Goldstein and Gawn. Gawn won it down, but only as far as Young. D's accelerated away from the stoppage, and Petrarca is executing that kick to perfection to Jackson. They're so exciting when they get on the outside. Jackson to Spargo, needs a kind bounce. Might go off the deck himself. Charlie Spargo! A pre-season highlight, if you don't mind, from Charlie Spargo. Kicks it off the deck and the D's get their second of the game.
Well, it's coast to coast. That's the second time we've seen the D's go from their defensive 50 coming out the front of the stoppage again, Ben. That is just so crucial. A clean exit coming out the front puts so much pressure on the structures and also the one-on-ones of those defenders.
Was that deliberate?
We're going to pay everything
Sure,
today.
of course.
They've had a summer of working on this. Let's say that was absolutely deliberate. But it's the ability to get the ball into that forward half, take those one-on-ones. And once again, you speak about those role plays. We touched on Neil Bullen earlier. Charlie Spargo is so appreciated internally for the work that he does defensively as that small forward. And every now and then you pop up and you're allowed to kick a goal as well. We saw it last year, and that was just a lovely finish from a talented young man.
Yeah.
How electrifying are they? How fast are they on turnover or coming out the front of that stoppage? So if you're the Kangas, the message would be for that midfield group, you need to keep the D's goal side.
Yep.
They cannot come through the front of a stoppage clean like that.
Jackson down to Oliver, and here they go this time from the centre bounce. The Star accelerates away, hoping for McDonald, and in the front, in the end, Brown comes through, and arms fully raised, clunks the contested grab, and we'll go back for this trademark set shot technique.
Let me just add another layer onto that, Ben. It's extremely easy to say, particularly up here. It is so difficult to execute.
Of course.
When you've got Clayton Oliver bursting out of a centre square bounce, putting out in front of Ben Brown, who's got the longest arms in AFL. It is easy to say, very, very difficult to stop.
So we know this long run-up from Ben Brown, which has been so effective for many years. 25 goals last year, 9 times. He kicked 2 goals or more from his 13 games. And perfectly executed. So the D's hit the lead in Casey as we tick towards the end of the first quarter. Melbourne lead by 4 points. So we've got our time running up here, but I'm just looking at the scoreboard on the outer side there. They might be stopping after goals. So there's 2 minutes 34 on the scoreboard left at the moment on that outer side. So we'll keep an eye on the siren. But the fact that Ben Brown was able to come in the back half of last year, Dal, and have such an important impact, kick 3 goals in the grand final, just would have been so pleasing for him after such a few tough years at North Melbourne.
Absolutely, and also how pivotal he was to North Melbourne. The idea that he was getting moved on, or there was a conversation that this may not be the best place for you.
Yep.
The acceptance of role, it took him a while to get in there. They were really trying to work out what their best forward line looked like. Were they too tall?
Yep.
But they eventually worked it out with Wiedemann being the one that got squeezed out.
Petrarca, Oliver, Sparrow sees a lot of open space in front of him. The Chandler, who won his left side here, shrugs the tackle, has a good look at the goals, and the D's have 3 on the trot.
I think we saw that towards the end of the third quarter not that long ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Just bursting out of that centre square bounce. Petrarca was there just in case the handball was needed. That's the responsibility of the midfielders as we have another look at this. So there's Petrarca. Greenwood's drawn to him to put that tackle on. There's Oliver to clean up. Look at Petrarca's follow-up.
Yes.
So he was in that initial contest. He was brought to ground by Greenwood. Look at the gap he's put on Greenwood. That's the power running, getting forward of the football. That's just far too easy. Far too easy.
This is the thing. Petrarca's only 26 years of age. Oliver's only 24. There's a lot of great footy left in this Melbourne midfield.
Yeah, which is it's scary for the rest of the competition, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll ask this question later. We can have this conversation for both clubs. Who improved?
Yep.
Now, clearly for the D's, it doesn't need to be huge improvement. They did that last year, but the competition's still looking at them. They're going to be challenged multiple times. Who needs to improve for the D's to go back-to-back?
He just wondered, and we mentioned him before, who brought the ball inside 50 was Sparrow. He's having a good run in the centre bounces already, so if he can lift his output, he might be a key plank in this Melbourne back-to-back premiership defence campaign. It's a free kick for a high tackle here going the way of the Roos, and they finally get a chance to breathe. It's been all Melbourne essentially for the past 5 minutes, really. And Zeeble has core tucked up on the boundary line. So the Roos kicked 2 of the first 3 goals of the game, but Melbourne have kicked the last 3 themselves. Core towards Coleman Jones and Goldstein. Unrealistic spalling attempt there from May will give Goldstein a chance to send the Roos inside 50 for the first time in a while. We'll use the left foot here of Polek, who gets around Petrarca, gets around Brayshaw, goes back to Goldstein, who can't quite escape the grasp of Petrarca. And this Demons defence is hungry. And they swarm forward once again. Brown, Oliver, Can't get around Taron Thomas. He may have got boot to ball there, but umpire says holding the ball nonetheless.
What a brilliant tackle. What great transition from Taron Thomas. They'd overpossessed the football on the near side, trying to get that overlap handball with Goldstein and Polak.
He's just favouring his left hand a little bit here.
Hopefully just a dislocated finger by the look of it as he comes to the bench.
Harms waiting to come on. In the meantime,
yeah, that's a dislocated finger.
Thomas goes inside 50. Stevenson waiting for the crumb. Back to Phillips, to Polak. Fumbled just at the wrong time. Horn Francis. Terrific smother from Neil Bullen. Great follow-up tackle from Horn Francis. Stevenson goes short and finds Zeeble. Oliver just coming to the bench, wincing a little bit in pain, just favouring that left arm.
Well, it's definitely a dislocated finger, but the way he's reacting to it's probably like you and I getting a scratch. It hasn't phased him too much. He's too tough for that. He'll have that strapped up and he'll go straight back on.
Yeah, if there is any risk, obviously, that Zeeble will not be taking any of that 20 days before their round one encounter against the Western Bulldogs. Bowie. Rougemont holding the ball, unforthcoming. That is quarter time at Casey Fields. The Roos had a really promising start, but then the Demons just flexed their muscle a little bit late in that quarter. 3 goals on the trot has given them a 10-point advantage at the first change. Melbourne 4-1-25, North Melbourne 2-3-15. Great to have you with us wherever you're watching on KO Sports. It's quarter time in this practice match between the D's and the Roos. We'll take a short break, and on the other side we'll have expert analysis from Nick Del Santo and second quarter action in just a few moments. Second quarter underway. Goldstein and Gawn to do battle. The 10-point differential between these two sides. Gawn won it down, but Goldstein got the clearance to Greenwood, to Goldstein, working it out via hand. Inside 50, Coleman Jones attacked it hard, but Rivers floats back, intercepts. And they again work their way through the middle of Casey Fields. Harms, though, put Salem under the hammer, but Salem was up to the task. Tomlinson gives the D's a forward 50 entry. Brown got hands to the ball. Crumbing there was Pickett. Put it towards McDonald's advantage. Sees a couple of options deep towards the goal square. Hayden under the pump. And the Kangaroos are able to repel here through Goldstein, and Polak gets the clearing kick. Zerha one-on-one here with Hibberd, and Hibberd did well to win a one-on-one. Had Oliver in support, and Oliver is back on the field after a dislocated finger in that first quarter. Neil Bullen to Harms.
So no issues with Oliver. Did come off the ground, got his finger put back into place in front of us, and then went into the rooms just for a further check-up.
McKay one-on-one there with Brown, and well played by Ben McKay to take a strong mark in front.
That's a great grab. Went looking for the body, it wasn't there. Then he thought, I'll just go for the football and take front position. That's a poor execution of a simple kick, though.
You mentioned no Robbie Tarrant, though. He's probably going to be the guy that has to lift his output somewhat, and also responsibility.
Yeah, and it probably flows on. You're looking at someone like a Core, who may be undersized at times, but he's just going to have to play a little bit bigger, probably out of his comfort zone, given that you don't have the stability of the Robbie Tarrant next to him.
Yep. So McDonald keeps it low towards the top of the goal square, and there is Mackay again. He was paid the mark in the end. He had some treatment there from Kane Turner. He's some friendly fire, but umpire said he held it long enough. Polak had an opportunity there to clear, but he's kicked it out of bounds, and the full was really off balance as he put through that. I think attempted that left foot kick. But yeah, big season for Jared Polak after being re-rookie by the club. Now Max Gawn lining up here. We know he can launch a big one. He doesn't go for goal here. He goes towards McDonald, who read that superbly off the boot and now has an easy set shot attempt.
Well, it's just weighted numbers. Kangas putting themselves under more pressure than they needed, trying to be a little bit cute off that half back line. But I love that kick from Max Gawn. That's almost a set play. That is a come up, allow your defender to sit underneath the football like Mackay was just then, and you launch over the top of him. You actually sit the ball on the spare defender's head.
Great kick from Gawn, allows McDonald to kick his second goal, and that's 5 on the trot now for the D's. As Tom McDonald puts through his second goal, should tick over his 200-game milestone as well this year. Tom McDonald with 142 goals to his name. So the D's now starting to show some authority at Casey Field. So what do you say, particularly if you're David Noble at quarter time, what would have been your address or your key focus against the D's?
Well, it just depends what their focus was coming in, but there would have been two clear messages I would have been saying. I would have gone straight to the midfield and say, hey, that's unacceptable. Like, we can understand that you will lose stoppages at times. It can't be out the front.
Yeah.
We call that clean ball, opposed to dirty, where it's a rush kick or it's not, the perfect execution. So you've got to minimise the damage coming out of the middle. And what I'd be saying to the Kangas right now is, you're under pressure. Let's have some forward structure, get our tools long down the line. We are okay with a long kick to a contest and take a stoppage. That's a win.
There's Powell and Greenwood working in tandem in the centre bounce. Thomas to Goldstein, who sends it towards half forward. Horn Francis attacked it hard. Nicely crumbed, though, by Taylor. Just off balance as he kicked, though. And that's a clean pick up there from Chandler. Just gets boot to ball, but only as far as Thomas. Taylor. As Patrick Walker on the outer side. Taylor disposed of it legally according to the umpire. Oliver there to pick up.
So strong by Oliver, just standing up in that tackle and giving off the hands.
Thumping left foot from Hibbard finds Ben Brown. Oh, he dropped the simple chest mark. Spargo calling for it in the pocket. Heads in that direction now. He's got Core for company. And he runs out of real estate in the end. Core there right on his hammer. Yeah, the strength of Oliver on display once again.
It's an obvious example, isn't it? Just two teams, individuals, but as a collective, just at different stages in their development. Kangas fumbling every now and then, slipping over, getting tackled in the ball dislodging, opposed to that Oliver one. Just stands up and gives it off on his terms.
Polek just able to get a hand pass off to Powell.
They're really swarming as well, the Ds. I'd be interested to speak to Simon Goulden about, are you actually collapsing in? Are you actually putting too many people towards the tackler?
Yep.
And I know it's paying off at the moment. Just wonder whether that, against a clean team, whether you'd actually get overlapped and therefore leapfrogged. But so far it's working.
Harms put his head over the ball and able to feed it out towards Petrarca, who on his left foot snaps towards goal, and a rare blemish from Christian Petrarca as that one sails out of bounds in the full. Last competitive game was a pretty decent one of the best individual grand final performances we've seen for a while.
Better than Dusty?
Luke Shuey's 2018 grand final is seriously good as well. But Petrarca at the 39, a couple of goals as well.
I think anyone that plays half decent or just a good solid game on grand final day is okay in my books, let alone winning the medal.
Did you ever poll a Norm Smith vote in your grand finals that you played?
I could honestly say I don't know.
Right,
I could honestly assume that no would be the answer to that.
Okay, all right. I would have thought you would know.
No, I don't.
Gawn and Goldstein. Thomas fumbled. He's had a lot of time on the ball so far, Taron Thomas. Oliver spun in the tackle. Pickett fed out the handball. Goldstein and Gawn going head-to-head again. Pickett brings down Thomas. A little dangerous with the tackle, but
it's got him too high. It wasn't the sling or the dump afterwards. He got done for the initial contact being over the shoulder. And now there's 50. I think that's a little bit of back chat. That's come from about 20 metres away from the play.
So Thomas will be advanced towards the edge of the centre square here. Plays on immediately, but there's a lot of demons around this ball. One of them is Gawn, who's so good at getting back to help out his defenders. Coleman Jones won it back, though, to Taylor. And Marnie just fumbled at the wrong time. The D's just a little cleaner at the clinches at the moment. Pickett accelerates away. McDonald got up high, hit the deck hard. There's a bit of a tunnel there from Turner. Free kick goes the way of McDonald, has 2 goals to his name so far. Great to have you with us on KO Sports, the third of our 9 pre-season practice matches. Flurry of games, particularly on Friday, and then we finish with Geelong and Richmond on Saturday. Langdon receives on the wing. They've switched the ball with ample efficiency here. Spargo, 80 metres out, inboard to Oliver. Roos have got numbers back, but Oliver is still not able to quite find a teammate. Greenwood intercepts, and they play on quickly here, the Roos. Lazaro received from Phillips. Zerha all the way up in the middle of the ground.
Got no forwards, though.
Bergman tried to look to one of his only forwards on offer in Coleman Jones, but sitting in the hole was May. And Langdon sees some free grass in front of him and kicks along towards Brown. Ball travels over the back, and it goes over the line and out of bounds in a dangerous position for the North Melbourne defence.
That's another example. We saw the 2 out of bounds on the full deep in the Kangas' defence, which put pressure on. But that's also another example how it puts pressure on them. They're losing their structure forward of the football. So when the Kangas are under pressure, coming through the half-back flank or through the middle, they've got no options. And Stephen May far too smart just picking that ball off.
Hayden was in there for North Melbourne. Patrick Walker applies the tackle. Hayden feeds out a hand pass. Greenwood and Petrarca do battle. McDonald lost control. Oliver gained control. Greenwood won it back though for North and clears the defensive 50. Meeting it first there is Coleman Jones, brought down by Gawn. Skipper asserting his authority. Bowie retreats to Neil Bullen, not the 15. That is just 15 to Sparrow. Tries to find a teammate inside 50. Brown met it. Thumped away there by his former teammate in Zeeble. Hayden. Horn Francis checks the kick and places it nicely for Taylor.
It's a lovely kick. So this is the opportunity for the Kangas just to take a breath, get your structures in front of the football, get some yardage.
And the ball has lived predominantly in Melbourne's forward half in recent minutes as Greenwood marks almost in the middle of the ground.
That was a gutsy kick, well executed.
Can they make the most of it? Patrick Walker. So rookie pick from the 2020 rookie draft. Yet to play a game, but having a really good look at it from a defensive point of view today. That kick was looking for Horn Francis, but just pumped away from him. Speaking of Horn Francis, famously in the lead up to the draft, Scotty Clayton, who's seen a lot of footy for 30-odd years as a recruiter, said Jason Horn Francis was as good as any number one in years that he can remember.
Okay.
And so high expectations.
So he's got a little bit to live up to, the young man.
His Sandful season last year was to die for. Gosh, that is a gutsy kick, a well-executed kick from the D's. It might go all the way for a goal. A long left foot from Chandler has found its way through the middle. Brown didn't even have to touch it.
That's gone 75 metres and 68 of them were on the fly.
Terrific kick from Chandler. He has got his second goal of the game, and the D's have 5 on the bounce.
What a lovely finish. There was an issue with the Kangas' defence as that ball was thrown in on the half-back flank. Ben Brown was out goal side. Far too much space, even if that ball hadn't have gone the distance. Look at that kick from Chandler. I'll have to have another look at that. I want to see that on the side-on angle to see if that was actually behind the centre circle when he pumped that inside forward 50.
Only 3 bounces and through it went. And that's a big confidence booster for Kay Chandler, who was linked to the Adelaide Crows pretty heavily during last year's trade period. Nothing came to fruition in the end.
Let's have a look at this again on the replay. Here he comes through the middle of the ground. So the missed handball. There's the turnover. Look how devastating.
He kicked that from behind the centre square.
That's further than I thought. I reckon I've stolen 15 metres off him. Look at that ball dribble. Beautiful finish. And if it didn't go through himself, Ben Brown was there to grab it anyway.
Second goal for Chandler. Sparrow again in the centre bounce. Wrapped up by Phillips. Sparrow goes again. Try to feed it out towards Neil Bullen. Third time lucky for Sparrow, who sends it into the arc. Jordan has 2 to beat here. One of them is Young, working with Bergman, but Jordan applies a great, well, I thought it was a great tackle. The umpire said it was too high. And Young can repel here for North. Former Bulldog. He's first season with the Roos last year, playing the 17 games. Holding free kick call by the umpire to go the way of Coleman Jones. Who's been involved in a lot of contests in this first half.
And that's all you can ask for your tools, particularly when you're under pressure. Get that long down the line option. Don't allow the opposition to mark the ball. That's a poor kick.
And the D's have got some space and smell some blood once again. Oliver to Neil Bullen. A little sloppy via hand, but they're able to work it out to Tomlinson, to Langdon. Langdon starting to get busy on that outer wing. Sends it deep inside 50. Brown well positioned, but well done by Court just to put himself in a decent position there to bring the ball to ground. Pollock has time to assess, and he dropped there by Stevenson in a dangerous position. Bergman heavily met, and Pickett is waiting to pounce, and pounce he did. Wonderful pick-up, snaps towards the top of the goal square to McDonald, and the Roos get back just in time to force it into neutral territory.
They are devastating on turnover. the D's. They are just moving the ball at will. But more than that, Ben, they lock it in there forward 50 when it gets there. The likes of Cozzy Pickett, you are always under pressure.
2 goals straight to nothing in this quarter in favour of Melbourne. They're having a terrific quarter so far as Harms applies the stoppage, or forces the stoppage rather, with that tackle. Young got it to Coleman Jones off the deck. Phillips clears the danger towards the middle of the ground. Big one-on-one here. Zurhaar's barely seen any of the ball so far, and he's given away a free kick here, Cam Zurhaar.
Well, he's always going up against at least his direct opponent, if not 2, with the numbers behind the football for the D's. So Tomlinson's sitting 20 metres behind the kick right now, so they have safety behind the footy, good stability.
Big thump away there from Core. It's a big year again for Cam Zurhaar. Played the 20 games last year. Rookie pick back in 2016. He's got 79 goals to his name, but he's
he's an impact player, though, isn't he?
Very much so.
He's the sort of player you want to get more of the football, but his style of football and also his positioning and role in this forward line means he's not always going to get heaps of the footy.
The D's have got good matchups for him today. Joel Smith's just gone on to him. Hibbard beforehand as well, so they're well positioned to try and thwart his
There's no easy ball.
Bowie off the pack. Shanked it off the boot. Left foot kick so that the Roos can have a good look from their half-back line here, but the D's, they're so disciplined defensively. Jackson and Tomlinson well back. Stephen May organising.
So Larky's going to have to come up and compete. He's the only tall down the line. He's going up against 2 or 3.
They try to pick one off short. It comes off in the end. Lazaro sweeps it over the top towards Taylor. Terrific smother, though, from Smith. And Smith applies the tackle and wins a free for holding the ball. And the D's, again, have lots of options inside 50. And it's hard to ignore Ben Brown, who marks just inside the paint.
He's got the leg from there. We know he's a very straight approach when he kicks those set shots from this distance. Don't be surprised if he just arcs out to his right for a couple of extra metres. What about the system, the defensive system of the D's there? Had great representation long down the line. Larky was the only option, but they also entice the opposition. I think there's a nice short one through the middle, and they just pick him off.
So played 130 games with North Melbourne. Ben Brown famously kicking 60-plus goals in 3 consecutive seasons. From 52 metres, he has flushed that.
Look at that.
He's hit that perfectly. Terrific kick from Ben Brown. He's got 2. He's the 3rd Demon with multiple goals in this game. And the D's have kicked their 3rd of the quarter. They now lead by 28 points.
Well, he must be licking his lips after making that change to the D's. There was some conversation around his impact on the game, but at times you are a representation of what happens up the ground. The delivery wasn't always nice to him. Sometimes floaters don't hit their target, Ben. He goes to the D's and he can't help but mark the football because it hits him right on the chest time and time again. That kick inside, just off the line. And this is a lovely finish. Didn't arc out as much as I thought he would. Maybe just a step to the side. It's a beautiful finish.
And this time last year, obviously he's struggling with knee injuries. Him and Sam Wiedemann both struggling this time last year with knee injuries.
Still got that left knee heavily strapped, Ben.
He does, but he seems to be covering the ground really well today for the D's. Coleman Jones and Jackson have a turn in the ruck. Phillips tries to extract it here. He's got Jordan for company. Phillips missed his teammate with the handball. Harms and Brayshaw combine, and Harms will go onto the left and go short to Chandler. It was clean on the half volley to Petrarca. Pushing the back, advantage is paid to the D's. Jordan inside 50 to McDonald in front. Able to get the ball to the ground there was Core. McDonald, though, follows up at ground level, normally really good on his left boot. Set a task there for Jordan. Stevenson had to sit there, brought it to ground. Jordan wins it back, though. Neil Bullen with the check side, and it was worked out. Found Brayshaw, and he's got a good look at the goal's 45-degree angle.
Just too fast, the D's.
And cleaner?
Yeah. That's a really good analysis there, Benny. Particularly at ground level, they are very, very good with their hands, particularly around contested situation. If it is to hit the deck or it's not in the perfect position, they're so quick to get back on and have running support beside them as well.
Played all 25 games in the 2021 Premiership campaign. Angus Brayshaw last year, just the 3 goals, averaged the 18 touches per game on the wing. He's looked pretty good off the boot, but just swung late. And missed for the first minor score of the quarter.
There has been some conversation around Brayshaw about how much football he gets. And you look at the other side, you've got Langdon that runs all day, as does Brayshaw. Langdon seems to naturally get more of the football.
Yep.
Now, there is some suggestions about the role that he plays, and they call it the offside wing.
Mm-hmm. As that kick is just sport there by Turner, but Brayshaw is involved in this chain of handballs. Swings under that left boot with aplomb. McDonald caught behind and stumped over the line.
So the offside wing is very much a structural position. It holds the opposition and forces them to the narrow side, which doesn't allow them to switch the ball as much.
Yep.
Adam Tomlinson played a similar role at the Giants. So his role is so pivotal, but a lot of it is unseen and probably unrewarded externally, but internally loved.
And Ed Langdon, averaged the 4 more possessions per game last year. Here's Brayshaw, who able to gather cleanly at ground level. Rivers got it from Jordan, sends it high to the goal square. McDonald had the ball thumped away there from Core and through for another minor score. So Aiden Core's 195 centimetres, but can often play below his height, can play on both the smalls and the talls.
Yep. Well, just back to Brayshaw, he only kicked the 3 goals that last year. You think about that one going back with the flight of it in a really vulnerable position. Takes that really brave mark and then goes back and finishes his good work.
Zeeble down the guts, hoping for Coleman Jones, who's, again, doing well to bring the ball to ground. And they've done well here through Taylor and Stevenson to find some open space. The kick sets Zurhaar a task. He's got Hibbard for company, and he gives the don't argue on Hibbard and did well not to get him high as well. Retreats to Polek, who's going to go on the right boot. Not his best effort. Taylor, and going in hard and low there was Zurhaar. Great follow-up effort. Unfortunately for him, though, the D's have won the ball back. Rivers to Hibbard to Brayshaw, all via hand. Back to Hibbard. Great rebound and cleanliness from the D's. Petrarca got hands to ball. McDonald ran into Petrarca, but he's still got time to find Jackson over the top. He's got Spargo to his left, Harms to his right. Spargo goes to Harms. That is textbook coast-to-coast play from the D's.
That is devastating ball movement. Electrifying. Harms came from the back flank. He was involved in that initial contest. Petrarca was forward of the football. What I love about that, that's just in case sort of running.
Yep.
Just in case you need me, Ben, I'll be there running shotgun. And Harms gets rewarded getting the football. There'll be times that he doesn't. That is just a power surge from the half-back flank.
The D's hard running on display there as Harms has already had an opportunity for goal today.
Nice.
And that's a lovely finish as well. So they've got their kicking boots on the D's. 8 goals, 3 they move to now. That's 7 goals on the trot. And the Roos still yet to score in this quarter. And I know the scoreboard isn't everything or, at all really in terms of a pre-season match. But it just goes to show how powerful the D's are looking in their first official hit out against a rival side.
Look at Harms coming from the right of screen. Just getting in there now. Charlie Spargo running boundary side for support. Harms coming on the corridor side. That's just weight of numbers. So for the Kangas, there's obviously a lot of learnings out of this. Now, the players you feel probably need to reflect on this post-game. It's really difficult to change it and probably analyse exactly how you're getting scored against right now.
Yep.
But it's those defensive layers. So there's a saying that one gets it done. So one comes forward to defend and tackle. And if you're not in that first layer of attack, you've got to cover off a receiver. At this stage, they're just getting pinballed through. And the overlap handball is costing them.
And their run and gun game has been awesome today. The D's. Greenwood gets the clearance just off the ground, though. Patrick Walker under the pump. There's just no easy Kangaroos possessions at the moment. Horne-Francis, great handball, though, to Greenwood. Sends it deep to the goal square. Larkey had good positioning, but still Stephen May good enough to thump it through for a rush behind. That's North Melbourne's first score of the quarter. And May wastes no time as well. Finding Rivers and not in the play, according to the boundary umpire, who had perfect view of that Bowie marking attempt. And Stevenson can look to try and find a North Melbourne teammate inside 50. As you can see, terrific crowd in attendance as well on a Thursday morning.
Excited to see some men's football back.
Yeah. Stevenson. Big fly over the top there from Horne-Francis in the end. He's a little slow to get to his feet. In the meantime, Larkey snaps towards goal, and that's deemed to be touched off the boot. And through for another minor score. Horne-Francis a little slow to get to his feet. Really hit the deck hard. But he's all good.
He moves a lot like Jack Siebel. Just the style of running, the way that he's a power athlete, gets after the football, almost in a kamikaze style at times, isn't he? You can already see some signs about why North Melbourne supporters should be really excited with the way that he moves around the ground. Hasn't had a huge impact on the game. That's not what it's about just yet. It's about getting a feel for the speed of it coming up against the best in the competition as well.
Yeah, and it's seriously quick. The D's are playing today. Their hands are so slick. Jackson went up hard. There is Siebel able to pick up the crumbs at ground level. Not a great kick. Oliver able to get a boot to ball there. Thomas retreats to Polek, who's got his hands on the ball a bit today. Set Taylor a task, though. Marnie gave it straight to Oliver. And this is where the D's have been so damaging on counter-attack today. Harms to Gawn. They're lining up here. Brayshaw all by himself again at this left half forward flank area. Oh, he just lost his balance there, and Stevenson good enough to keep his feet. And goes with a kick around the body. Patrick Walker is there with Bowie.
That was 10 centimetres too far. Yes. Otherwise, Brayshaw takes an uncontested mark. But once again, you just see the ability in the game awareness as that's turned over on the far side. Oliver, little kick inside, just off the line. Ball gets switched through the middle to Gawn. And Brayshaw playing that offside wing. Yep. Gets an opportunity.
Another clearance for Oliver to pick it to Petrarca to Neil Bullen. Linking up by hand once again. Neil Bullen might go towards goal. It looks good off the boots and it bounces through. Another long-range goal from the Demons. First from Chandler from the car park. This one from just outside 50 from Alex Neil Bullen, who gets his first of the day. And the D's now have a 40-point lead.
So a general rule for all clubs, you can't allow Christian Petrarca to be free forward of the football. You see the Kangas come up once again, all the players coming up to try and impact the play. That allows the D's to get that overlap handball. That's a really good decision by Neil Bullen. Had Ben Brown leading up, had Charlie Spargo in the left pocket, but backed himself in, and rightly so. Took responsibility and executed.
So Neil Bullen gets his first for the day. 15 goals last year. Played all 25 games in the Melbourne Premiership campaign. Finished 8th in the best and fairest as well, which is a really true reflection of how important he was.
That's a really impressive number. I wasn't aware of that. 8th in the best and fairest. Yeah. Highlights the role and how important clubs value those style of plays. Everybody needs them.
He's lining up here on Greenwood at the centre bounce. Is Gawn. Oh, beautiful. Down to Petrarca to Oliver. Rinse and repeat. Petrarca gets it back. Don't argue there on Thomas. Just missed Salem with a handball, but gets a lucky bounce. Greenwood follows up. Got a heavy hit there, Greenwood, from Salem as he was going past. He's straight back to his feet, though, and will take the free kick. Scott streaming off half back here to Thomas, to Hayden. Trying to pinpoint a pass inside 50, but that's easier said than done against this Demons defence, which is so disciplined and organised. Salem missed the kick, though, and Hayden has marked that 70 metres out from goal.
Kanga's trying to generate some overlap run. Now, the threat of that is you put yourself under more pressure than you were initially.
Coleman Jones attacked the ball hard, but Tomlinson was there to fist it over the line and out of bounds. And with Harry Petty not playing and Jake Lever not playing, Tomlinson has just slotted back into this defensive system with a Plomdale.
You think that he's back in their best 22 when it's all said and done and the whips are cracking. Can play tall and small.
Salem on the right, clears. McDonald got an unkind bounce. Scott was right there with him. Paddles it to Patrick Walker. Back to Scott. Hayden was there, but Petrarca right beside him. No easy handball here, but well done by Hayden to find Thomas, who goes short. It's waiting there to intercept there was Joel Smith, and Langdon again on that outer wing. Trying to create some space and some momentum. Horn Francis, great chase there. Fists the ball away from Rivers. Umpire said he did it legally as well and got it into neutral territory.
And as always, every time we cover a North Melbourne game, we have to speak about their runner, Brent Harvey, who's looking better than he did ever as a player, and that's saying something. If he was in this shape while he was playing, he would have played 500.
And just noticing the runner for Melbourne as well is, of course, former Richmond and Fremantle player Reece Conker, who's
correct.
Joined Melbourne in an off-field role this year. But yes, Boomer covering the ground with a plom.
You wouldn't have thought that Reece Conker's got a lot of messages to send out just yet. His role is probably the easiest here today.
Yeah.
He'd be just keep doing what you're doing.
just clock up the Ks on Strava for the day. That's his role. So boundary throw in here with just over 2 minutes remaining in this second quarter. Gone down to Langdon to Pickett. And working out via hand with Harms. Brown on the searching lead.
Beautiful hands out in front. That's a laser.
Ben Brown hoping for McDonald. Just fumbled at the wrong time. It was a pretty slick half-volley pick-up there attempt, but over the line and out of bounds.
What the D's are doing really well, and this will challenge all opposition, is they reset really hard back to goal. So as soon as there's a turnover or Ben Brown marks that football, when they see that they have got the footy, their forwards are racing back, lengthening the ground, giving them representation forward of the football.
Thomas with another clearance. Back to Polek. Just puts it on the left boot and hope than anything else. Rivers read it well and got it out of bounds. And when you reflect on North Melbourne's campaign last year, they were 0-6 after round 6 with a percentage of 46, but still finished 4 wins, 1 draw, 17 losses, and a percentage of 70. A percentage of 70 for an 18th place team is still a very good result, considering the amount of losses they racked up. There were so many positive signs in the final 2/3 of last season for North Melbourne, and hopefully they can take that into this year. Scott, Horne-Francis. Hoping for Zurha. Hibberd tracking him closely. And Zurha is forced into a rush kick and out of bounds in the full. And it's been a tough first half so far for Cam Zurha.
He won't stop trying, though, no. Benny.
Definitely not.
He's of the type that it'll just make him more determined. Don't be surprised if he runs through somebody.
That's the thing. You've got Tomlinson coming back into the side. We saw how good and influential and effective Michael Hibberd was in that sort of more lockdown, small defender role during the final series last year. You've got Joel Smith as well, who was a bit unlucky, had a hamstring injury during the final series. That's why he didn't play in the premiership. They're just blessed with defensive options, the D's. Here is Smith. Can't slip the Stevenson tackle. And the Roos run out of time. That was a really nice bit of play late in that second quarter. But unfortunately, that was a demolition in that second term. They kicked 5 goals to zip. That was 5 goals, 2 to 2 behinds. And they take a 40-point lead at halftime, 9-3-57 to North Melbourne, 2-5-17. 2 goals each to McDonald, Chandler and Ben Brown, the only multiple goal kickers on the ground. Just a quick word from you, Dale, before we head to some highlights at halftime. We saw just a glimpse of the D's best in that second quarter, didn't we?
Oh, just the thing of beauty, both with ball in hand, the way that the D's were able to move the ball once again from their D50 all the way through, almost untouched. Their ability to lengthen the ground and really make some tough decisions. Do the Kangas come forward to pressure, or do they retreat back and try and cover the goal line? But also around the contest, they're cleaner. Their bodies are bigger and stronger and therefore able to stand up in those tackles. And from a Kangas perspective, they're still trying. They've just collapsed with their system. They're all coming in to try and impact the play while not covering off their direct opponent. A lot of learnings for the Kangas.
No doubt. We'll see a couple of different players in the second half as well as we rotate through a couple of different players. But that is halftime here at Casey